On the 610th day of the war in Ukraine, the fighting was concentrated in these areas. In Donetsk front, heavy battles continue in the Avdiivka sector. During the last 48 hours, Russian forces continue to put pressure on the northern part of the front line, in the areas between Stepove and the Waste Hill, and according to Ukrainian and Russian sources, Russian troops were able to gain a foothold near the railway in this direction. According to some Ukrainian sources, Russian forces were also able to entrench in the Terikon Hill and are now trying to attack Avdiivka's chemical plant, using waves of infantry forces to push from the Waste Hill towards the Ukrainian positions. However, despite their attempts, so far the Russian forces have not been able to advance past the railway, and Ukrainians maintain their positions near Stepove and in the northern outskirts of Avdiivka. The Ukrainian army is launching counterattacks on the Russian flank, as sources on both sides reported that the Ukrainian command decided to transfer new reinforcements on the northern part of the front. Based on recent footage where the Ukrainian M2 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles are seen operating on the northern part of this sector, some sources suggest that at least one battalion of the 47th Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Army has been recently transferred to help with the defense of the northern flank. Reports from Russian sources like Rybar confirm that the Ukrainian army is counterattacking the Russian forces from the towns of Ocheretine and Novokalinove, aiming to dislodge the Russian troops from the trenches north of Krasnohorivka, threatening their flank and slowing down the Russian offensive towards Stepove and the chemical plant. So far, it seems that this strategy is working, because in the footage published yesterday by Ukrainian sources, it seems that the Russian army engaged a part of its mechanized units on the heavy battles that are taking place in this direction. As seen from the footage, during the battles, the Ukrainian drone units managed to damage and destroy at least 4 Russian tanks. Battles are also ongoing in the southern part of this sector, but with a lower intensity. Ukrainian forces, with the help of FPV drones and artillery, counterattacked south of Avdiivka and managed to dislodge the Russian forces from a number of positions along the highways and railways that pass in this direction. Russian forces are reportedly making new efforts to regain control over this area, but so far they have not achieved any visible success. A few kilometers to the west, the Russian forces seem to have paused their assaults towards Sieverne and Tonenke and are instead focusing their efforts on the town of Pervomaiske. It seems that the continuous Ukrainian counterattacks on this flank succeeded in shifting the attention of the Russian forces away from the strategic positions near the villages of Sieverne and Tonenke. In Kherson front, battles were reported taking place in the new Ukrainian bridgeheads near Krynky and north of Pitstepne. According to geolocated footage published by Ukrainian sources, Ukrainian troops have now consolidated the new positions across the Dnipro river and are constantly probing the Russian defenses, looking for weak spots which they can exploit in order to advance and capture new strategic positions. Russian source Warganzo reported that with the support of artillery, Ukrainian forces continue to attack near Poima and Pishchanivka, aiming to reach the intersection of the M14 and M17 highways, which according to him are located about 5 kilometers away from the current Ukrainian positions. North of Pitstepne and near Krynky, the situation is more intense. A few days ago, the Ukrainian forces managed to gain a foothold north of the village of Pitstepne and captured some trenches in this direction. According to the latest reports from the Russian sources, Ukrainians maintain control over these positions and are still trying to expand their area of control following the road. Thanks to the support from the other bank of the river by FPV drones and artillery fire, Ukrainian forces also continue to hold their positions inside the buildings in Krynky. Despite the Russian attempts to drive the Ukrainian soldiers out of the village using mechanized units, it seems that the Russian forces suffered heavy losses during the battles near Krynky. Thanks to FPV drones, yesterday the Ukrainian forces destroyed at least 2 Russian tanks in this area, a T-90M and another one T-72B3M tank. Another attack of the Russian infantry forces through the forest south of the settlement was also stopped by the Ukrainian artillery, which conducted heavy shelling in the entire forest area. Friends, if you like my daily updates, I kindly ask you to hit the like and subscribe buttons, as this will greatly help the channel to reach a wider audience. That's all for today's update. Thank you to my Patreon supporters and have a great day.